Well, we're so excited to get to talk to you again because that means we get you back in town again, this time at House of Blues in Dallas and Rocklahoma. And this has to be such a joy for you because what a band you have.
Yeah, no, the band is incredible. I was just saying that to previous interviewer. They said, "Well, what can you expect at the show?" I said, "Well, it's a hell of a rock and roll band. I mean, oh my God, the two guitar players, off the chart, the crazy eccentric Italian keyboard player with three guitars going mental. I mean, Tanya rocking out on the bass, Dave, rocking up a storm on the drums, and we've got theremins and kodo drums and all manner of weird percussion going on. It's a, it's not just kind of like it's not an ordinary. How can I put it? Not an ordinary metal show. It's a lot more multi-dimensional than you would expect.
You have so many great songs to choose from, and we got to talk about Balls to Picasso because that is something that we didn't expect to happen.
Yeah, it's gone down really well. I mean, the people have approached it, and with a understandable degree of like, oh, okay, what is this then? And then the reactions have been pretty universal. Like, oh my God, this is so heavy, and it's like, well, it's kind of what it should have been. Um, and by the time I'd got to around to doing like Accident at Birth and Chemical Wedding, and I was at that stage of kind of my solo career, I looked back and thought, oh, it's such a shame that we missed a trick with that album, making it as heavy because the riffs and everything are intended for that. Um, and you can tell that now. Now we've added things, we've taken nothing away. So all of the vocal performances and the guitar solos, they're all the originals that were there. We haven't added anything to anything like that. All we've done is just beef up some of the rhythm tracks, um, and we've added some orchestral bits on a couple of the tunes to really make sort of like an epic tune, just more epic, you know.
Yeah, and that's got to be great to go back and fix something that always bothered you because usually you don't get a chance to do that. And now you get to check that off the list, right?
Yeah, I mean, I was delighted when the job that Brendan did on it. I mean, it all started that we were doing a Dolby surround sound mixes of all the albums, and in the process, he did such a great job. And I was like, Brendan, do you fancy having a crack at doing the reimagination of this record? And as soon as we started on that, I said, well, you know what? While we're at it, why don't we just let's do the new record together. So the new record is going to be Brendan, who did Balls
Good.
and mixed Mandrake. And we're going to the studio in January with this band and recording it live.
That's amazing. And these shows are so good. And I just got to know how you get it down to one set list with all the great songs you have.
I mean, I've got, effectively, I've done half as many albums as I did in Iron Maiden solo.
Yeah.
Um,
Mhm.
in a quarter of the space of time. So I'm like, okay, no sleep till Brooklyn. So
Right.
yeah, but I think with this one, um, some of the songs kind of pick themselves. Like, if I go out and don't play Tears of the Dragon, people are going to go, "Hey, what, where was it? 87, I think, was or something,
Wow.
some crazy amount of time since I've toured America." Um, so there's stuff. There'll be stuff from Accident at Birth, Chemical Wedding. I mean, for example, a song that we never hardly. I mean, we played in Europe. We played the Alchemist of Chemical Wedding,
Yeah.
and people were falling over, going, "Oh my God, I thought I'd never hear this song." We're actually going to drop in an Iron Maiden rarity, so rare it's never been played ever, right? But that's kind of that's going to be real fun to do that,
Yeah.
and yeah. So no, it's great that we a pretty good cross section. There'll be stuff from Balls as well. I mean, I think probably there'll be like three tracks from Balls and three or four from three or four, five from Chemical Wedding. We do one from Skunk Works. We do one from Tyranny of Souls as well. And sometimes and the band is we're very flexible.
Mhm.
So sometimes we'll just flip the set around. So if you come see us in Houston, you might not
Mhm.
see the same set that we do in Dallas.
Oh,
you
good.
know and we've got spares that
Yeah.
we can throw in and go, hey, what about during the encores tonight we do
Mhm.
this one, hey, what about we do Star Children tonight? Oh yeah. Oh, how about Navigate the Seas of the Sun? Oh yeah, let's do that. We haven't done that one for like a couple of weeks. It's great having a band like
Yeah.
that, and because the show is not uh uh, kind of like as tightly coordinated, if you like, as like a
Mhm.
maiden show. But we can kind of go off piste. We can sort of go,
Yeah.
hey, how you doing, dude? Tell you what, why don't we do this? Let's just do this.
Yeah.
Boom. And they're so good, the band. I mean, we could go in the dressing room and go, should we learn a song tonight that we haven't played like ever?
Mhm.
And they'll learn it. And we just go out and do it at the sound check, and then we just go do it that night. It's fantastic. No, all that stuff where people do tape record. Well, they fly in fake
Yeah.
vocals, and that's no, no, no. We don't do any of that. It's 100% real. It's 100% real.
Yeah, well, and you've always made it look so easy, and now there's so many kids that are looking up at you on that stage and going, "See, that's what I want to do," and they have for a long time. What advice do you give?
Just do what the only advice I can give is you have to do what you love. Don't
Yeah.
do what you think people want to hear, because nobody will um, nobody will thank you for that, because they'll all and even if it's successful, people won't respect you for that. And so it's for me, if you can get out of the music industry, and not that I want to get out of the music industry, but if at some point when somebody says, looking back on your career, what was the best thing about it? And you go, well, actually, I really loved what I did, and people respected it, and they respected your honesty and integrity and stuff like that, because that's all you've got as an artist. That it doesn't matter how much money you've got, if you've got no respect and no integrity, well, you go away and count your money, but people looking at you as an artist will go, you're kind of washed up, because you sold your soul.
That's true. Well, speaking of that voice, how do you keep that up?
There's nothing, honestly, nothing special other than kind of common sense, really. Don't go to football matches and yell and scream yourself stupid the day before and then expect to be able to sing. You have to have a little bit of living like a monk,
Yeah.
because the voices, they need sleep, rest,
Yes.
sleep, and they like that. If you be nice to your voice, rest. Actually, be nice to your body. If you respect your body,
Yeah.
the voice is just a projection of that, really. Um, and yes, there's a few bits and bobs, and I'm lucky in that I've always given my puny little vocal cords a chance by having lungs and diaphragms and stuff like that make a loud enough have enough wind. I'm an old windbag, so I generate enough wind to support my voice. You
Yes.
know what I mean. But yeah, effectively, I try and sing with as much technique as I need to keep my voice on the rails when I'm
Yes.
touring.
When I got to know you always have so much going on and you're always doing it at such a high level. What do you keep in mind that keeps you on the right path always?
What story are we telling today? It's. I mean, it dawned on me when people were saying, what is it about being a singer that you like? What is it about being in a rock and roll band that you like? What is it? All this stuff. And I went, well, hang on, what is it that I like? I mean, it's it's not the things that people think. What is it? And it's the storytelling. Because when I'm in a
Mm.
song, I'm in that song. I'm telling the story of that song. I'm acting it out in my head, and often my arms are waving around, and I'm in that world. And I realized that that's basically all I've been doing. I mean, when I was a kid at school, I was forever telling stories and I was, forever distracting people and trying to anything except to get out of the maths class. And I realized it's what I was doing. So, was I wanted to create a story that people would buy into. So when I've been writing, not just music, but like the comic book, like Mandrake Project, and any novels I've written, and even my autobiography, I approached it as a narrative tale, as a story, not as a okay, let me tell you all about the time when I was this and that and all that
Mhm.
stuff that people go, oh, where's the salacious dirt? I'm like, that's not really a story. That's just kind of embarrassing. So what we want here is a story that people can follow that tells a tale, and you can pop bits in that people go, "Oh, that must have hurt." I always, no matter how dark, and I've lots of dark stories in my catalog. Um, no matter how dark a place gets, there is always, in my world, there's always a light at the end of the tunnel, even though it might be an oncoming train.
That's true. Love that. Speaking of great storytelling, we got to talk about those comics because those are amazing.
I've the I was looking at comics because they really seem to me that they really like had a big crossover with the music world, especially with metal, which is big and dramatic and lots of big epic stories and things. One of my favorite comics of all time, legendary comic, is Watchmen. And
Yeah.
that's kind of a pretty adult comic. And when I started thinking about writing a comic, I was initially planning on doing it as effectively like a promo item, single comic, and that would be it. So I thought, well, I'll write a kind of a backstory for that comic. Ended up being kind of pilfered by Iron Maiden, which is
Yeah.
not a problem if
Yeah.
eternity should fail. It's the title comes from a Doctor Strange episode from that was 2014. Fast forward to now, and I'm putting Mandrake Project together and
Mhm.
collating all this stuff that we've had kicking around and trying to make sense of it all. And I realized that maybe the the thing could be the comic could have a life of its own. So I
Mhm.
started sketching out things. I got a really a big help from a writer called Kurt Sutter, who wrote Sons of
Mhm.
Anarchy and The
Yes.
Shield and all kinds of stuff.
Mhm.
So during during that COVID lockdown stuff that happened, there wasn't much you could do except talk to people on Zoom. So
Yeah.
my buddy, who was a writer in Hollywood, was friends with Kurt, and I mentioned I'd been binge watching The Sons of Anarchy,
Yeah.
and he said, "Oh, would you like to have a chat with Kurt?" So we started talking about comics. And Kurt said, "Well, yeah, I did a comic. I did a graphic novel. I've done a couple." I said, "Well, what's the process involved here? Because I've done screenplays, I've done novels, I've done biography, but I've never written a comic." He very kindly sent me the pitch and the treatment and the script for a couple of
Mhm.
episodes of his comic. So I got the hang of it, or partially got the hang of it. And then I started writing all of those things for Mandrake, developed all the backstory, developed the characters. And I was working with Z2 Comics on the Maiden book. So
Mhm.
I said, well, they teamed me up with a writer, Tony Lee, who's award-winning comic writer. And we did Revelations in the Maiden Peace of Mind book as a kind of dummy run to give me a clue as to how the
Mhm.
technique worked of writing comic script. They'd already seen the treatment that I'd done, and they were
Mhm.
very impressed, I guess is the word. I was like, okay, well, do you think, you know? So they embarked on this journey with me, which is not
Mhm.
something they normally do. They tend to do one-offs, but this is a 3.5 year project. So book one of Mandrake is out now. The first four episodes in a hardback, and there's a thing that looks like a illustrated manuscript the size of a paving slab, which costs a lot of money. But there's a one that's like Amazon, Barnes and Noble, all that kind of stuff, and
Mhm.
it's up to like $39 or something. So that's out, volume one. Volume two will come out in kind of like a year or so when we've had the four comics intervening. And then volume three, episodes 9, 10, 11, 12. And at that moment, we will have something like a 550-page graphic novel, which
Wow.
will be a lethal weapon. That's where we're going. That's where we're going. That's the journey that we are on. Yeah, I mean, people can people can get an idea of what it's all about, and if they dig it, then fantastic. I'm just putting it out there. It's a story. It's storytelling,
Yeah,
and it is pretty
absolutely.
dark. Pretty based. It is not it is not for kiddie winkies. Okay, it can be. It
Mhm.
could be if you're a very advanced kiddie winky, but.
Well, we can't wait to see you at House of Blues and at Rocklahoma. Thank you so much for your time and the wonderful answers. It's been an absolute honor.
Brilliant. Thank you, mate.